book since a kid, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first of many, but like the poetry book itself specifically spun out of this kind of two cauldrons of thoughts. One of like, what is compassion? The second, what is love? Everything that was going on in 2020, you have George Floyd, you have Trump, you have Biden, you have the reconciliation with post-Obama era, you have reconciliation with everything that was happening globally. I grew up abroad. I also have friends that grew up abroad that I'm still tight with. So I have friends that are still dealing with the MENA region aspects. I have friends that were in Beirut when the Beirut explosion happened. So like for me, like everything seemed like it was imploding at the same time. And it was just encapsulating a lot because I talk with these people a lot and I have relationships with these people a lot. And so for me, it became like this kind of overflowing of, okay, how do I put this into a medium? And the book, when I start to think more problem solving, which is how I think of everything, and solution oriented, it was okay, what if I could break it down to the most functional atom and the most basic atom? What are the identity crises? And that would be people are struggling and lacking with identification of that which is pure love and that which is pure compassion. I feel like if you meld those two and mitigate that, you don't bomb certain things, or you don't you tend to, not saying it's a complete mitigatory factor, but you solve things. And so that was the purpose of the book.
And so then you constructed it not as a book, but as a series
poetry
of poems,
collection.
Right. And so these poetry collections, are this stuff that you wrote ongoing?
No, I wrote it all in one setting.
Really?
One couldn't concentrate it time frame from late September to what's the September, October, so early November. I don't know.
From what, last year?
Yeah.
Really?
So it was like about a month and a half ish of just writing.
Wow.
And so
did you study the art of poetry at all in order to write it?
Because poetry school education, I mean, that was. I mean, I'll be honest. I have like one of those stories where it used to be more classic, but I haven't heard them too much. Or my fifth grade art teacher, I want to say her name was Miss Morrison. Okay. But I don't think it could be Miss Morrison. Tall lady. And I got in front of class, right? We're doing like a show and tell type thing, right? Back in the day, right? Show and tell, showing what you got, your art. And she brought me to the front of class and completely demolished me, like completely crapped on my stuff. I was like, yo, this ain't art. This sucks.
What did you paint?
I mean, it was a stick figure. It was like the pipe cleaners, the pipe cleaner artwork.
But like, what the fuck are you supposed to make with those?
I thought it was fine. To this day, I did the number. I did a basketball player. I was like, this is dope. She thought it was horrible. This ain't art. Crapped on it. Kids laughing at everything. You know, kids can be cruel in fifth grade, right? So I'm like, well, you can't ball. I wasn't balling because I was like, I didn't want to be known as a crybaby kid for like the rest of my elementary school years. So I was like, okay, tell what it is. I hated art from that point forward. I had great teachers though, like in middle school. Miss Corey was awesome, but she was like helpful, and then I hated it in high school still. And then my sister comes along, and she was like, "Yo, like you gotta take this AP art history teacher." I was like,
my God, you were taking AP classes.
I was, and then I was like, "Man, I'm not taking this. I can get an extra free period." And she was like, "Nah, like you gotta take this. It's about to be your last year. You take it, like it's gonna be
senior year high school.
Senior year high school. I take it, bro. Completely like relights the fire." I'm like, "Yo," which is one of the reasons why I'm
was in the art class.
She just taught about it. Like she taught history, she taught art, like in a different lens. Her opening statement was always, "Art is a reflection of life. This life is a reflection of art. This life and art can't be bad."
So I guess that comes back to you wanting to translate your life experiences into.
Correct.
Now I'm looking through it, Josh. I'm not gonna lie, you did a little double spacing here. You double spaced a little times in a row, man. Because man, you couldn't get by on an assignment with us. Man, my teacher's making me single space my shit.
Everything.
This was an assignment, bro. You would have got a 50,
bro.
just from the.
Just formatting.
Just from the formatting.
I thought it was because I just wrote them. And then I was like, all right, it's going to be a small book, bro.
Now, you write in Ebonics in the book, right? So you don't write formally. What's the process to get this thing published? And
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was kind of filling it out. I mean, originally, it wasn't like I was writing it like in a desk per se all the time. Like I was actually typing it out like late at night and put it on my story, take a picture of like the blackness, and then like send it out to the world.
I saw you
early
put
on.
those on.
And then but people would like slide up and be like, yo, like this is dope, or this is what I was thinking, but I didn't know how to say it, or this is what I was feeling. And so that was like translated, manifested it, built on some of the other ones, put it into a book, and then I was done editing it by the end of December of 2020, and then started shopping it around for publishers.
Now, what the hell does that even mean? Because I'm thinking the only publisher I know in my mind is Scholastic from Diary when I used to read them shit. You know what I'm saying?
McGraw-Hill.
But like,
oh god,
yeah, McGraw. Like, so when you shop around for publisher, but you got to go to a place and you got to pitch the book to them like a business proposal. Or?
I mean, some people do that. I think that's more traditional. And then you have to deal with traditional kind of ramifications. I'm a stickler for like learning things on the fly too. Like I'll learn as much on like before, but like I'm a stickler for learning on the fly. But like, so for me, it was, I knew I wasn't pressed about being on like Penguin or like all these other type big ones or like Andrews McMill at first because like they have their own processes and they also cost more sometimes, typically around
it costs you to publish. It does.
People
do you have to publish something to release it?
No, you do not.
You don't, but you for the formality of it, you want it to be published.
For the formality and the professionality of it. Because so whether the I don't know if professionality is a word, professionalism. But so the book industry is in this weird space right now of like you have this. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say because everything's fucking digital these days.
True, but you still have the people that are like
I'm one of those people.
Right.
I like a hard copy.
So I don't think that's ever going to go away. It's about targeting the market and understanding where the trends are. So then on top of which that writers got smart. They're like, well, we don't need to come to a publisher to get our voice out. We can do it through our own mediums. Yeah, we could do kind of like how sports players do a sportscast now. They don't let the media control the narrative. Think of a publishing house as the media, as CBS.
Because publishers will they want to alter your text?
They can. They actually sometimes build into their contract. That is very normal. It's called copy editing. Yeah.
And so, with who did you publish yours?
Scott James, awesome. If anyone needs to write anything, I highly recommend Scott James.
They local to DMV.
Based out of Texas. Austin. I want to say. Sorry, Scott. It's Austin or Dallas.
And so when they read it, they saw the Ebonics in it.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. Okay. We were so. I think one of the most interesting pieces of like Ebonics and writing, and I hopefully this is not too nerdy, is that I think sometimes even within when you write papers from a collegiate standpoint or from an American education standpoint, I learned and noticed over time that sometimes when people just say, "No, that's Ebonics," or "that can't fit in this paper or this space," it's kind of this disregarding of like how we talk, how we were raised. And so if you're disregarding my communication style, you're kind of almost disregarding me as a person and where my people come from. Yeah. And so like, well, if I can't express myself fully and authentically as you're begging me to, then how am I supposed to do that? And it's not. It's like, for instance, like there's places in there, I heard a great author talk about this too, of like, okay, if I say, hey, my mom's gonna get a Switch, you know what that means. I know what that means,
but someone else might not.
But someone may not understand that. But if I sometimes take the time to break that down, then the people that look like you and me and come from our culture, they may realize that subconsciously, wait, maybe this book is not for me directly, or maybe it's not speaking to me directly. Yeah. And so for me, the Ebonics of it was just the rawness of it. It's like, yo, like, if you don't get it, cool, you don't get it. Right. Keep pushing. There's other pages, but like, if you do get it, then it's going to hit you from a different level. Kind of like I love Christopher Nolan movies. I do. And so like you can watch a Christopher Nolan movie and pick something up different each single time. And that was kind of the goal of the writing. Okay.
And so this for you is not a one-off at all.
No, I already have a second book coming.
What the hell? When are you finding the fucking time? Because seriously, a lot of people, bro, because like for me, for example, I've written, right?
Yes.
I tried to write kind of like an autobiography, but less about the physical realities, but more about what's going on in my life. Yeah. Right? From a mental standpoint, how am I dissecting things on a day-to-day? Yeah. I wrote every day for a good big chunk of time. Okay. I got out about 66 pages. Okay. That's writing every day. This is as I'm playing basketball. So like I have free time on my hands. Now I think about it right now, like I'm in college right now. Afterwards, I'll be getting a full-time job. When are you finding the time? Where are you finding the time to write? Because I'm sure there's tons of people want to write a damn book, but where are you going to find that time? Almost anybody would say I don't have the time.
And my thing, I learned this at a very, very early age, and so it actually goes to like that thing. I have a plaque called "What We Speak," and
it's can't,
and you replace it with a affirmative.
I like that.
And so I was like trained like that as a kid, and so for me, I don't necessarily think about like not having the time. It's about prioritizing the time. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, for me, it's about like old quote one of my mentors used to say, like, at the end of the day, a human will do what they really want to do at the end of the day. And so for me, it's like, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's like, does this for me, why do I want to do this? And my why is my anchor for everything. So for me, that irons up the time. I structure that. So for me, I know the literal space and what I need to a laughable standpoint for what I need to create it right. I need it hot in the room. I need candles. I need some.
Is that actually music. How you're writing?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you're weird, bro. That's some shit out of a movie, man.
That is. I got the candles, everything. The cinnamon candle. I got it. It has to be like 80 degrees or higher.
So you're sweating.
I don't really. I glisten because I'm too cute.
Because I've been sweating over damn store. I sweat a lot.
I'm
hot right now.
Well, you hot and you white.
Yeah, man.
I'm hot right now. Well, so and then on top of which I know. Like how the type of mental state I need to be at. I need to have everything kind of silenced, and for me to go into this state where it's like, I need to be at one with myself. So
So then for you, if this is you're writing another one, is it going to be reminiscent of this piece?
That's a good question. It will take. I think the core will be the same. The core throughout all my writing.
Poetry once again.
No. The core of poetry is a medium for me. Poetry is not the core. The core is compassion and love. Understand, which is going to be tough because I'm challenging even in the poetry. I'm challenging.
So tell me, without spoiling the book, because you keep
the second one.
No, you keep saying this one too, but you keep saying compassion and love. And what's so curious to me is I've always felt love to a degree very subjective.
Absolutely.
Right? And what we know to be love can easily be influenced by, factors. And what is love in each culture is even different.
Correct.
What is compassion in each culture, tolerance in each culture is different. I think from an American standpoint, love is very convoluted. Right? And I don't say this to hate, but like for those who are watching, like you can even see it in how we carry it out. Yeah. So America's the only place, right? It's the only country in the world, to my knowledge, where love, it can be anything. Can truly be anything. You can be I think there's a pansexuality now where you can love inanimate objects. That won't fly in Uganda. That won't fly in Turkey or Israel. You see what I'm saying? So love is just, and so what is love to you?
What's love to me?
And then following that, what is compassion to you?
What's love to me? What's compassion to me? Love for me is, I'll start with compassion. What's compassion to me is taking the time to understand something that is different or someone that is different than you. Like actually taking the time to sit with it. People coin the term, an old school term, putting yourself in someone's shoes.
I have a question for that.
Shoot. Because
I think that would be my definition initially. But then I also believe in morality. I believe in one's own beliefs. Yes. So even with compassion, what oftentimes happens with compassion is people will take time, they will understand, but if it goes against something they believe, if it goes against something that they know or believe is to be true, exactly, the issues happen, and that's where you see conflicts happen. Correct. That's how wars are born. Correct. Right? And some would call it a lack of compassion, but then I would personally call it, you have compassion, but then there's something that conflicts you. Yeah. And so how do you understand that? Yeah. How does compassion go in those areas? So take it, for example, a racist talking to someone who is of the color that they don't like. Yeah. Right? So I'm trying to understand you, but I don't agree with this.
Yeah. Right? To be kind.
Yeah. So like, you know what I'm saying? Where does compassion flow in that? Because the conflicts start coming there.
Yeah. I mean, that is, on the black art wall, I have one of my two favorite heroes are Malcolm and Martin, right? So it's like, that's the consistent theory basis of a lot of the kind of the conflict of thought there. Like, okay, well, if you come across this line of calling me this or saying this or believing this, then it's like, yo, like, what up? Like, we got to defend ourselves, which I agree with. At the same time, though, it's like practicing compassion, practicing love, practicing self-discipline, but practicing self-actualization for us. Like, okay, wait, hold on, time, pause. are you coming at speaking at me directly as like you are about to do something, or are you coming from a place of actual hurt right now, or some type of trauma that is totally just whatever, like not cool regardless, but like, can I take a second to think and be like, yo, like, it's not just me, like you got some things going on. And so does that make it okay? Absolutely not, regardless. Do you have to think, in my opinion, still then act by haste or on emotion, particularly if you are of a color in this country? Then like I think you should. I think that type of thinking, honestly, unfortunately better prepares a person of color to deal with those people that are.
So do you believe in, I guess I would say, because even now I'm thinking even on the front of your book, right? It says, I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically like, you know, sayings, right, of a young black.
Mahogany, reflections of a young black man.
Okay, of a young black man. So do you believe, because there's some racial kind of, you know, whatever the word is, insinuated throughout the text.
There's a connotation.
Yeah, connotation.
There's a connotation.
And so then when you, off of your definition of compassion, and what I think I would like to say that would be true, you believe in compassion for one's oppressor?
I get into that in the book.
I get into that in the book. And what do you,
I get into that. No,
but personally for you, do you believe in compassion for one's oppressor?
I do. I do.
That's a conflicting statement.
It is a huge.
I think that's even something that divided like Malcolm and MLK.
Oh, totally. I mean, compassion, but then there's a line, and you have to have. I call it a flare shot, and so I don't know where I get this analogy from, but it's not like I was out at sea a lot as a child. But like, if you get past a certain line, I'm shooting the flare gun. It's like, do not come any further. This is not me macho. This is not me being whatever. It's like, yo, you are approaching a place where I do not know, nor I am entering a state where I am going to have to react more aggressively. Do you understand that? Yes or no? And then some people are like, all right, I just checked you. I just checked you, so you got it. Some people are still like, I'm gonna keep pushing. At that point, it's like, yo, like you gotta defend yourself. But at the same time, up until that point, are you actually having that conversation of that checkpoint with someone that is an oppressor? Is that a country? It's like, yo, like, this is not cool. This is why they call it being democratic or diplomatic. So, yo, this is why I'm going to break it down to you systematically why racism exists. Systematically why, people, we're not in slavery per se, but we're still in slavery. Well, I'm going to break it down to you, redlining. I'm going to break that down to you. If you still, that's my flare shot, if you still are like, yo, post-Obama era, we're all great. Black people can walk anywhere. Then, like, I'm sorry, but like, you're not getting the point. Did you not just hear what I said? Are you not getting the point? And so at that point, it's like, yo, like, you're not understanding. And so that's how I relate it, because some people are too quick, I would say sometimes,
to be aggressive. Instead of trying to kind of see where the opposing side is coming from.
And sometimes you can't always. Sometimes you're not in that mental state. And I learned that more from being in Ohio. I think the better framing of that verbiage is understanding where your limits are. Pushing those limits within a self-talk, and then reflecting that in a compassionate way to the person that is oppressing or whatever.
I think you answered the compassion very well. I'm interested now. What is love?
What is love? Can you say some more? Love for me is when you are. I relate it to a ride or die. For me, love is unconditional, but unconditional, everyone says unconditional for the longest, but for me, it's like, yo, like, you are really rocking with me. Like, you are understanding.
Do you confuse that at all? And I hate to cut you off.
No,
do you confuse that at all with loyalty to a degree?
I think it flows.
Or is loyalty encompassed in love?
I think loyalty is encompassed in love. I do not think it's encompassed in compassion, though.
Okay. That's funny you said that. I think love and loyalty are
break it down.
I think they're
two separate things. I think they flow.
Because
you don't think they flow?
I think they can. Okay. But I think what we're confusing, and I see it in first, because I'm African at the end of the day. First generation American. I grew up in an African household. My parents weren't there every day. They weren't at basketball games. There's a ton of stuff that they weren't at, but I knew they loved me. Right? And
would you call that loyalty though, being at everything?
Some people would probably call that loyalty, because people always are like, because Eddie Murphy said it best in Raw. He's like, "What have you done for me lately?" Everyone is thinking about what have you done for me lately. So you see girls like, "Oh my gosh, if he hasn't bought you flowers in the past 3 months, he does not love you." But I'm like, that's not love, right? And so when I think about what people are calling love, it's more loyalty aspected in terms of what have you done for me lately? Are you there for me in a bad time? That means he loves me. But I don't think love actually has to do with that. I think love is, I cannot see you in 10 years, and it's hugs. I can't tell you. I think I saw you last semester. I haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You weren't questioning my love. You weren't questioning my love for you. Like, for me, I had a dad that traveled all the time. Yeah. He would be gone for God knows how long, but it was always love. You know what I'm saying? And people who love you, the people who love you the most are the people who have the potential to do the worst things to you. So I think another thing is people, they be like, "Oh my God, someone who loves you should not hurt you." And I'm like, that's false. Yeah. Strangers can hurt you the least because you don't know them, you don't care for them. Someone who loves you can hurt you the absolute most. If a stranger robbed you, you would come to me and you'd be like, "Bro, I had a bad day, someone picked my pocket." If I robbed you, or your mother robbed you, or your sister robbed you, you'd be like, "Oh my God." Dang. You see what I'm saying? Because
it has to go though.
Because you love them and they loved you. So that's where I'm like, I don't think love has so much to do with loyalty like people think it does.
Well, I think the definition though too. I grew up a nerd, so I grew up playing Scrabble and chess, right? So like I was the kid with the broken glasses. So like lexicon is like
the broken glasses.
Like, that was me. So like loyalty to. The definition I think is construed as well nowadays to that definition.
Because I don't like that ride or I hate that. I just hate that ride or die shit people be talking about. Because people be like, "Bro, you gotta be there for me when I'm in jail 25 years out and killed everybody and I'm messing up my life and I'm on drugs and heroin." For whoever's watching this, I'm not gonna be there for you for that, bro. And I don't expect anyone to be there for that with me.
Well, let me back up. How I define ride or die, because there's a limit too, where it's like, are you oversaturating me too? And like that's then we go the opposite way. So it's like for me, let me back up. For me, how I understand ride or die. For me, I know that there's multiple layers. Yeah, I'll give you an old poem that, like, once again, one of my mentors told me when I was like 7 or 8. It's like, a true friend, a loyal friend, is someone that when you forget the lyrics of the song to your heart, that they can sing it back to you. And so for me, that's he's like, I like that. I came up with it. I didn't come up with it. But for me, that's how I equate ride or die. It's not, because to be honest, if we're having a real honest conversation, some of my people that I love to this death that are ride or die, they can't go with me everywhere.
Absolutely.
And I can't go with them everywhere.
Absolutely.
But
you still love them.
But I still keep it a buck.
Exactly.
But you can't come here because where you are as a person right now,
you're not there.
You're not there yet. Bro. Or you will come with me and you don't respond the way you're supposed to.
You can't.
And I get that, and no disrespect, but I get that. So for me, it's like I was talking to an old friend the other day. It's like, do you want to know everything about friends? It's like, no, because not everyone's there yet. But for me, it's like, the people that I really rock with, we talk about our finances, we talk about our spirituality, we talk about our relationships, we talk about all that. And so you're
waiting for certain people to get there to where you can have those conversations.
I'll be honest though, I was.
You were, and then you realized you can't wait on people, didn't you?
And then I was like, I heard that, and I got it, like a grocery store. Like, I understood that was a concept, but I left it on the shelf. And I was like, and towards the end of Savior, and when I got like a senior, I was like, Dad, like, I can't wait. I was just journaling the other day for like the second book. I was like, I've gotten to a point where I'm tired of reaching out to the certain people that I'm investing more into the relationship than they are even conceptualizing. I value this relationship more, obviously. Yeah. But they don't value it to the extent that they're willing to reach out enough. And that's tough. That's tough for someone like me who I'm a hyper empathetic.
Absolutely.
So I think about the person I haven't talked to 2 years to a detail. I'm like, man, like, I really want to reach out and want to see how you're doing.
I used to think about it like that, but I had to realize, bro, this life is too short. Yeah. For those of you guys who are watching, it's too short for you to be worrying too much about everybody else. Everyone's going to have bad stuff happen to them. Everyone's going to have good stuff happen to them. It's guaranteed. But I've learned in life, bro, the homeless dude down the street, he's the perfect representation of a guy who could say he's lost everyone. there's no one reaching out to him. There's no one caring about him. And because life is that short, that's why I feel like I become selfish with my love. It's very much who's in front of me right now. You can get it. My girl can get it. My friends who are right here. You can get it. I'm with you right now. If I'm not with you right now, I can't give it to you. Like, and it goes for every, because I've realized, bro, you can actually lose everybody.
Yeah.
You can lose your mother. You can lose your sister. People will pass away in your lifetime. Like, it doesn't matter how much you check for people. It doesn't matter what you do for them. I've done crazy things for dudes. Come back and ask them for a lesser favor. And they couldn't even...
Can't deliver.
Yeah. And so, at first, I wanted to point the finger at everybody. But I had to look at myself and say, bro, love yourself. Love those around you who are there at the time, because it's so temporary. It's so damn temporary. And like, for me, I don't know if you're spiritual, but like, for me, that's where God comes into play. I have to understand, like, dude, he's the only guy that's gonna love me truly, unconditionally, whether I'm a murderer, whether I'm in jail, whether I'm broke, whether I'm rich. He's gonna do it for me. I don't have to worry about everybody else doing it for me.
No, I mean, I think for me, we grew up Baptist. We moved to African Methodist Episcopal when I was in middle school. So for me, it was, and then I went to private Catholic right after. And so it was, it's my mom, right? And it's my mom, but like, you know, she's awesome. And so we're talking right before she drops us off for the first day of private Catholic high school. It's like, you're not becoming a Catholic. I was like, is there something wrong? Is there a reasoning behind it? Well, because she saw growing up. And there's no disrespect, it's just how she saw in the conversations, like how sometimes what was related from a Catholic dogma and Catholic Sunday school per se, and then you saw so many people refute their faith because it's shoved down their throat so heavily, which is not a degradation at all on Catholic faith at all. I think the only thing because Catholic faith for me strengthened my faith in Christianity, understanding of what God means for me and how do I move, and then double down. I go to freaking Xavier. It's like, oh. A lot of these people that they say they're Christian, they're not, or they're growing, and it's just like whatever. And so, not to say that I'm perfect at all, and I'm not, but it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm in this foreign space, in this foreign area, in this foreign geographical space as well, where it's like, who else do I have to anchor me at this point? And so that's why, not that I laugh, but I find it. We just broke down to you in the earlier part of the podcast everything from a strategic standpoint, from academia to industry standpoint. Now triple that if you're trying to find yourself. Holy cow. Like that's a lot. That's and then you quadruple down in 21st century, COVID, all the other things that happen. And if you weren't like one of us that you haven't lived in the space by yourself, like mental health is real. So like you have to deal with that without God, in my opinion, in a strong relationship.
It's almost impossible.
It's tough. It's very tough.
How do you feel about the mental health? Do you touch on that?
I do. I mean, the reflection of it is in essence a mental health piece.
Okay, I'm going to be interested to read it because I have polarizing opinions about the mental health stuff.
I do. Mental health is tough because it doesn't need to be tough. It's been used and it's continuing to be used as in some cases as a trope for just not wanting to do something, or not being. My mentor used to call it like finding your space of quiet. We always talk about. I don't think you need to listen to TED Talks to have the realization that America is go go go. The side effect that has become thankfully more talked about is that you think of things of, well, I don't have time for a book. Well, is it that once again you don't have the time, you haven't prioritized? Why haven't you prioritized? Because writing, unless like you were some ridiculously wealthy person, you can pay someone to be your stenographer who writes your book for you. Just talk to them.
Wow, that's nice.
You need to find the space and the quiet space to write something, to outpour yourself. If you're always go like America has taught you and trained you, and probably has taught your parents, and that's taught you even more so. Then it like to find the spaces to be more self-reflecting, to self-actualize, to have mental health actually check-ins with yourself. It becomes really, really tough. So